Colorado Republicans hoping to reclaim the governor's office for the first time in 20 years.
We will reclaim safety and security. We will tear down the Venezuelan cartel.
Quite frankly, we're unaffordable, we're unsafe, and this state's unraveling.
Tonight, head-to-head on the state's biggest issues and how they'll work with the party that dominates Colorado politics.
There are some things that I will not work with Democrats when it comes to babies' lives, parental authority, Second Amendment.
Bad decision-making by lawmakers got us into this mess. The flip side is that good decision-making can turn things around.
This is a CBS News Colorado gubernatorial debate, moderated by your political reporter, Shaun Boyd.
Welcome to the Voters Decide, the debate between the Republican candidates for governor on CBS Colorado. Thank you for joining us, and thanks to our candidates for being here. Scott Bottoms is a state representative from El Paso County. He is a lead pastor for Church at Briargate and a Navy veteran. He and his wife, Linda, have 3 children and 3 grandchildren. Barbara Kirkmeyer is a state senator representing Larimer and Weld counties and a former Weld County commissioner. She's a 4th-generation Coloradan and has owned and operated a dairy farm and a small business. She has 2 daughters and 6 grandsons. The third candidate, Victor Marx, declined our debate invitation. You should know the candidates did not receive questions in advance, and they agreed to 1-minute answers and 30-second rebuttals at my discretion. So let's start with the cost of living. Last year, for the first time in 20 years, more people left Colorado than moved here, driven largely by the cost of living. While being realistic about the limited ability of a governor to impact cost of living, what would be your top policy to try to help? Senator Kirkmeyer, we'll start with you.
Thank you. Great question. We've been getting that one a lot recently. So anyways, but great question. My top policy would be this. On day one, we will be open for business. We will, in a Kirkmeyer administration, we'll be looking at every board and commission that we have. There's over 300 boards and commissions. I will direct my department heads to go through and look at those. And we'll make sure that we have people, like-minded people on there that will work with us to claw back some of those regulations and start bringing down the cost of living. First one, right off the top of my head, would be the Public Utilities Commission. Last December, they decided it would be a great idea to ban natural gas, not thinking about the ratepayers and how much it would increase your utility bills, which is just outrageous, quite frankly. So would work with that to claw those back, make sure that we're keeping the ratepayer in mind, keeping you in mind when we're doing that, and make sure that we're looking at the cost of utilities in the state of Colorado.
Thank you. Representative Bottoms.
Yes, thank you. I've been working with the one of the members of the Small Business Administration for Trump's administration, and we've been really working on trying to figure out, because small business is part of this conversation. We've got to get rid of property tax. We've got to stop regulations. We've got to stop all of the fees and all the red tape that goes along with housing. You put that together with small business, and I think I have the best small business plan maybe in the nation, definitely in Colorado, to be able to do this, to be able to stop the regulation and put this all back together, and then give specific incentives, not the same thing as cronyism, but definitely give incentives to small business to try to be able to pull them back into this. And then in even large business, I know that seems taboo, but I believe that large business does hire thousands of people, and we need to put that into the conversation too. So this is an encapsulated version of the bigger plan, but thanks for the question.
Thank you. Let's shift to the economy. The Colorado Chamber of Commerce released data showing since 2019, 98 companies have either left the state, expanded elsewhere, or scrapped plans to move here, resulting in the loss of 13,000 jobs. The chamber blames over-regulation. A new law will require state agencies to review regulations every 5 years to determine if they're needed. What specific regulation would you eliminate to help attract business? Representative Bottoms?
Well, we've put quite a few controls on small businesses. This is a silly example, but we just actually passed a law that is going to fine restaurants up to $1,000 for putting too many ketchup packets in the bag. That is lunacy. But we have that all the way up to the county level. We don't allow local districts to go after businesses the way that they should or that they could, because we put too much red tape there. We put too many controls or stop against those kind of things. I think one of the biggest regulations is actually in the form of taxes. We've got to stop taxing these people. Palantir left, and they said this was the largest publicly traded company in the state of Colorado. When they left, they said too much regulation and too many taxes. Well, they're tied together. So we definitely have to lower taxes. That includes property taxes, but we also have to deregulate on all kinds. President Trump said no taxes on tips, and our state called us back into session to override that and do that very thing. We got to stop this stuff.
I think Senator Kirkmeyer, you had a bill to reverse that.
I did have a bill to eliminate the tax on overtime, similar to what happened at the federal government level. So specifically, though, the code that I would go after to start with would be the energy code. It adds an energy efficiency code onto businesses throughout the state of Colorado, just kind of for the heck of it. So that would be one code right there, and that, again, was passed through legislation. So it would take the legislature to help repeal that law, but that would be something. But with regard to other regulations, an industry that's just been attacked and gone after is the oil and gas industry. And so I would work to, again, get different members on the Energy and Carbon Management Commission here in the state of Colorado and roll back those regulations. When I was a county commissioner in Weld County, we knew, and everyone knew, in fact, even then Governor Hickenlooper said we have some of the most robust regulations on oil and gas in the nation. And then for the last 8 years, we've just kept increasing them. So we need to roll those back. Oil and gas is in our top 3, is building our economy here in the state, and it's extremely important that we know that they're open for business and that they get to invest in our state.
It's a good transition into our next question, which is about AI data centers, which are expected to triple in number over the next 5 years. Denver and Jefferson County have issued moratoriums on the massive structures. How would you balance the benefits, including construction jobs and tax revenue, with the costs, including a massive strain on electrical grids and water resources? Senator Kirkmeyer?
So this is just right up my bailiwick here, right up my lane. So I served as a Weld County Commissioner for over 20 years, and this is exactly what local governments do in their local government land use planning and in their quasi-judicial hearings, is they make that balance. And so I would not preempt local governments. So I'm a local control person, grew up in that world basically. So I would not preempt local governments. I would work with them to make sure that at the state we're providing any resources they need. But it's up to those local governments to look at the water resources necessary and look at, development standards, criteria that they would put on the data centers. And then at the same time, from the state, we can look at, are there tax incentives? Are there things that we can do? But we have to have a balance. Ratepayers should not be footing the bill, and we need to make sure that we are mitigating any negative impacts and, quite frankly, any perceived negative impacts. And we would make sure that local governments have the tools that they need to continue doing that.
Thank you. Representative Bottoms.
Yeah, thank you. This is the subject that is the future. We are having to deal with this. The idea that you can just stop AI or data centers, it's not really possible. They're coming in. This is the future. We have to deal with this. Now, I'm very much in favor of local control. If Denver says they don't want a data center, they have the right to vote that in if it's done by the people, I believe. There are places around our state that is not healthy to have a data center because of water issues, because of wildlife issues, the temperature of the rivers, all those kind of things. But there's all kinds of newer technology now when it comes to data centers. One of the more modern versions that's coming out right now is something called the Vern model, and there's more words to that, but that's a simplification. And it uses a flow-through system, but it's a different type of flow-through system instead of a closed loop. This is going to protect the water in the process, but we also have to have small nuclear reactors for this to happen. The solar wind is not going to get us there, so we have to have the small nuclear reactors, but I think they need to be voted on at the local level, too.
All right, thank you. We're going to take a quick break now. Please stay with us. Welcome back to our Republican gubernatorial debate. Colorado hasn't elected a Republican governor since 2002, long before Donald Trump became president. What does the party need to do to compete again statewide? Representative Bottoms.
I think one of the things that we have to do, and this has been part of my passion and heart for 20 years, is we need to actually present the state with two very different options. We have the Democrat Party, and it's been so common for the Republican Party over time to present somebody that is as close to Democrat as we can get without not actually having the letter after their name. I think we need somebody that is a strong, bold, conservative leader that will actually stand up to issues and deal with the actual issues of the day that everybody is concerned about. No Democrat is going to cross the aisle to vote for a Republican over the budget, over potholes or something like that. We've got to deal with the moral issues and the social issues that are the most important issues of the day to these voters. And that's me. I'm the guy.
All right. Senator Kirkmeyer.
Sure, thank you. And great question. And we get this question a lot as well. So over 50% of the voters in this state are independent or unaffiliated. We have to be able to appeal to them as well. And I think we do that by listening to what they're saying the issues are for them. It's very clear in all the polling that we both have seen over the course of the last year that independents are saying, overwhelming majority are saying, we are going in the wrong direction and on the wrong track. So we have to have a vision, and I believe I do have a vision to get our state back on track, to look at how do we make sure and bring in affordability and have affordable homes. How do we back the blue so that people can feel safe in their community and work with local law enforcement at the state level, make sure that people feel safe in their community, make sure that we're protecting their kids. We have really gotten to get to parents and grandparents and have those discussions with them because of all the crazy stuff that's been happening down at the Capitol. They've just, again, made a mess out of our state. But there are so many things we can do. I have a vision, I have a plan, I have a message that's very strong that relates to those folks who live throughout our state, and I'll be a governor for everyone in this state.
So that's our next question.
Oh.
How do you persuade those unaffiliated voters to vote Republican? Did you want to add to your answer?
Sure. Again, it's about having a very strong message about what's important to them. So it's extremely important. You know, I go out and do a lot of door-to-door, knock on doors. And when people come to their door and they want to talk to you, they're ready to tell you what their concerns are. And affordable housing, just affordability and period, you know, they're working and trying to get by month to month kind of thing is a huge issue for them. So I think it's having that strong message, telling them that, you know what, I do have a plan, I do have a vision for this state, and that we're going to get back on track with their help, and that I will listen to them, and that I'll be a governor for everyone here in the state of Colorado to make sure that they know they're being listened to and that we're acting on it. And on day one, we're going to work to tackle this unaffordability issue that we have and the feeling of not being safe in our communities. We'll work on it together and we'll get it done, and I have a vision and a plan to put that in place.
Thank you. Representative Bottoms, you spoke to how you would address issues that are important to the Republicans. What about the unaffiliated voters?
Yeah, we're seeing right now that unaffiliated voters are no longer having the conversation where they would vote Democrat or Republican. They say that's not the issue to them. That's why they've dropped out of one of the parties. And so the issues to them are now what causes you frustration, what causes you pain, these kind of things. And the subjects that they're presenting is that they are not okay with the direction the state is going. They do not feel safe. We know we have a Venezuelan cartel set up in Aurora. They don't feel safe on the streets. We're second in crime in the nation. This is a major one. Also, 85% of the state says they do not want boys and girls sports. This is a major issue. The unaffiliated independents are saying, I want to protect my child at school. I want to be in the driver's seat again. And the main issues for the unaffiliated is parental authority, protecting your children, those kind of issues. And so that's, I'm the only one that's running bills in that arena. I'm the only one that's really pushing forward in this campaign to protect parents and children.
Thank you. For these next few questions, I'd like simple yes or no answers. Representative Bottoms, I'll start with you. Do you support barring unaffiliated Coloradans from voting in GOP primaries?
Yes, and Democrat primaries.
Okay.
No.
Would you support a nuclear power plant in Colorado?
Yes.
Yes, I actually grew up out by Rocky Flats.
Should Coloradans have to show a photo ID to vote? Senator Kirkmeyer?
I think that would be a great idea. I think they need to show a photo ID to register to vote.
Yes, it's the law.
Has President Trump misused the power of the presidency?
I think he has abused it in a few different places. I guess misuse would be the right term. So I would say yes.
Senator Kirkmeyer?
I would say in certain areas, yes.
Okay. Would you consider a Democrat or unaffiliated Coloradan for your lieutenant governor? Senator Kirkmeyer?
No, but I might consider one for one of my cabinet members.
Okay.
I'm actually presently considering an unaffiliated for my lieutenant governor.
Okay. Would you be in favor of pausing the state gas tax?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, the candidates get to ask each other questions. We are back with the Republican candidates for governor. It is time now for you to ask each other a question. We flipped a coin before we got started. Senator Kirkmeyer, you're up first.
Okay. So, Representative Bottoms, over the course of these last few months, we've been at several forums together, and I've heard you say on numerous times that you could cut the state budget by anywhere by $10 billion, $15 billion. I thought one time you said $25 billion. I could be wrong. But the last time you said you could cut $20 billion out of the state budget. That would actually be the entire general fund budget, $20 billion. So I'd like to know specifically, what would you cut? And how would you fund prisons in the state of Colorado if you're cutting all the general fund money?
So good question. I've been working with Vice President Vance's fraud team, and I sat down with them, this was about a week and a half ago, and we were going through all the different elements of fraud. Some have I presented, some that they are working on. And their team, this wasn't from me, their team said, we know with the fraud in the state of Colorado right now that it's over $30 billion, and I think it's higher because of some other things I've investigated, but they're saying we could get the budget, this is their statement, we could get Colorado's budget under $30 billion just from the corruption that goes through the state. And so there is also corruption within DOC. I think we need to figure that out, to investigate that. But just with the corruption, we've got $30 billion. That doesn't include attacking the abortion issue, the transgender issue, the Colorado for all Coloradoans. That one was supposed to be $17 million. It's $104 million. So there's lots of places that we can cut this budget quite a bit. And I'm talking billions. And now that I've had the conversation with Vance's team, over $30 billion. That can be at the next debate.
Okay.
Can I have a follow-up?
Quick follow-up.
Thank you. I mean, I asked specifically, what would you cut? The federal funds that we receive are actually less than $30 billion, so I'm not exactly sure what the feds think that they would cut. But I'm asking specifically, what would you cut to get to $20 billion? Because our general fund operating budget is less than $20 billion. It's about $18.5 billion.
Right.
So you're cutting the whole general fund.
So the federal government is not telling me what they're going to cut federally. This is state corruption. This is state issues. The resolution that I ran to try to cut $30 billion was because of corruption in the Supreme Court justice system and Attorney General Weiser. These are things that we don't have to cut programs, although I want to get rid of the Department of New Americans, things like that. We have to get rid of these programs and plans, but we've already got $30 billion off top before we even get started. So anything I make will be icing on the cake cuts after that.
Okay. Well, have you get into the specifics of the corruption, but at some point, I think voters would like some very specifics on that, maybe on your website. Your turn to ask Senator Kirkmeyer a question.
Yeah, I would say, no, I mean, I'm the most conservative person in the race. Everybody knows that. Looking at, if the Democrats are over here on the left and I'm over here on the right, and looking at your voter record and all these kind of things where you're getting grades of F in almost every category of voting for conservative values, where would you put yourself in comparison to, closer to the Democrats or closer to me?
Closer to you.
Good to know.
All right, we'll move on. Let's turn now to rural Colorado, where healthcare facilities are struggling to keep their doors open. And many residents have to drive hours for specialized care. What would you do to improve access to physical and mental health care? Senator Kirkmeyer?
Oh, I'm up first? Okay, great, thanks. So you're exactly correct, and it's a great question, and we are in crisis mode when it comes to our rural hospitals and our healthcare system in the state of Colorado. So what I have been doing is ensuring that we do have our Medicaid reimbursement rates, that we're trying to at least reach a point of where we increase them by inflation. We all know that healthcare costs have gone up, but when we have 25 counties with maternal health care, It doesn't matter if you have insurance or not, whether you're on Medicaid or not. There isn't any woman in that county that's able to get maternal health care. So I've been pushing for on the Joint Budget Committee to make sure that we reimburse our hospitals and that we reimburse our doctors and our clinics so that they can stay open. We have hospitals throughout this state, and it's not just rural Colorado, that are going month to month. And we are in a healthcare access crisis mode, and we need to make sure, again, that when they are getting paid essentially 60 to 70 cents on the dollar for their Medicaid patients that they're receiving, and that's like 70% of their clients, they can't make it work. And we've got to work with them to make it work to ensure that every Coloradoan has access to health care in the state of Colorado.
Thank you. Representative Bottoms.
Yes, Senator Kirkmeyer is definitely right about this. We are in a crisis when it comes to rural mental and physical health care. We're shutting down neonatal ICE units all over the entire state. In fact, the hospital that my daughter was born in down in La Junta, if you live down in Springfield, Colorado right now, you're traveling hours to get birthing help. This is not okay. We've also cut, we just did the budget a couple months ago in the House. We cut major chunks of money out of mental health, not just for citizens, but also for veterans. We cut dental care for seniors. I mean, everywhere you look, we were cutting it. And the reason is because there's the sacred cows in the budget that we're not allowed to touch. Everybody knows you can't touch those because those are ideological, and yet people are going without health care. We have got to fix this. We've got to right the ship and cut some of these other programs so that we can fund the things that are very important and vital and necessary to the people of Colorado.
So continuing the focus on rural Colorado, how do you balance the competing demands for water between farmers and ranchers and growing municipalities along the Front Range? Representative Bottoms.
Yeah, so we have the compact that was written up in 1922, and this included 7 states, and this is water flowing out of the Arkansas River Valley, and then it includes some of the St. Louis Valley. We can't just change the compact. I had somebody ask me that in an interview today. Can't you just change that? Well, no, you can't, because you have to have the agreement of the other 7 states, and I don't think they're going to let us have any water back. The problem is when that compact was designed or built, that was we were having about 17 million acre feet of water in the state of Colorado during that time. It was a very wet time frame. Now we average about 12 million acre feet. But here's the biggest thing. We have found out, my team was investigating this because something didn't seem right. We are actually giving, or we've sold 33% more water downstream than the compact has in the original agreement. We need to stop that immediately, and that's going to deal with people's contracts. But I don't mind doing legal maneuvers against people saying you cannot keep selling our water downstream. We start there, and then these are the priorities. Farming and ranching first, corporate second, and then housing third.
Thank you. Senator Kirkmeyer.
Okay, so balancing competing demands for water in our state. Water is actually a private property right, and we have all sorts of courts that are set up, water courts that are set up throughout the state of Colorado. And so it isn't necessarily up to us to balance those competing needs. I mean, we can try to do that, but selling water downstream is actually not up to the state of Colorado. Water rights are adjudicated. You have to go through a court of law. There's all sorts of things that have to take place. So again, what we can do to try and balance the competing needs, though, is build more storage. And that's what we should have been doing. But for the last 10, 15 years, special interest groups have been making it more and more difficult for us to build water storage in this state, and they have stopped projects. So what has happened is water that should be staying in our state is floating down the river to the lower basins. And we should have been building storage. We should have been building dams, increasing our dams and the capacity within our reservoirs, and also looking for underground in our aquifers underneath to build more storage in the state of Colorado.
All right, thank you. That is it for the first half of our Republican gubernatorial debate. Please join us on our 24-hour stream, CBS News Colorado, as we continue the debate. All right, our next question is going to be specifically for you, Representative Bottoms. You've said you will eliminate all property taxes as governor and offset the lost revenue, $15 billion, by eliminating programs that pay for abortion, transgender surgeries, and health care for non-citizens. Those three things combined add up to roughly $100 million. So where does the other $14.9 billion come from, and how do you do this unilaterally as governor?
Well, first, those numbers are coming from the Democrats in their policies presented as bills in the House.
I didn't get those numbers from the Democrats.
So one of the things that we found is the price of abortions that was being presented when legislation was presented was about a tenth of the actual cost of the abortion. So I don't know where your numbers, but they're
coming from state economists, nonpartisan state economists.
So all of our state legislatures that were fighting against these bills all had their own information, too, that was saying it is 10 to 15 times higher at a minimum. But even setting that aside, I'm not saying that we're going to get all of that from those programs. When we redo the property tax issue and we do away with property tax, we're going to restructure the entire tax code. This is what Florida is doing right now as we speak. They are voting on this, and there's tier systems that involve this. How you get to that with this group and then this group, and I can explain all those. But once you get through all the tier systems, then you've already rechange the tax structure. We're going to also have to rechange the tax structure on income tax because I want to do away with that too.
Property taxes are in our Constitution, so how do you do this by yourself as governor?
Well, I can't do it by myself. We can do some of it with an executive order depending on where money goes and where it doesn't go. But yeah, we're going to have to get the legislation on board. We're going to have to get local control. Local municipalities on board. When I explained the plan to local municipalities, they're definitely going to be on board. They actually get more money long term. So
this is something you're going to push for?
Yes, very much.
Question for you, Senator Kirkmeyer. You have blamed Democrats for overspending, but as a member of the Joint Budget Committee, you helped create and vote for the budget, and you have largely opposed cuts to the fastest growing part of the budget, Medicaid. What would you cut to address the $1 billion a year structural deficit?
Sure, thank you. And I just want to be clear with regard to Medicaid. We actually increased the funding towards Medicaid. It should have been increasing by about 11 to 12%. It only increased under this budget, this coming year's budget, by about 3.6%. So there were increases in Medicaid. We did go in and look at certain codes and make different changes there, but there was an increase to funding to Medicaid, just so we're clear. And with regard to what would I cut in the budget, first of all, it's a different animal when you're in the executive branch versus in the legislative branch. The governor has the ability to stop spending. The legislative branch does not necessarily have the ability to cut programs unless they pass a law to cut that program. So I would cut spending specifically across the board anywhere from 5 to 10% in each of the state departments that are out there. It would depend on the department how much we could get cut in those departments, but it would be 5 to 10% in the personal services and operating lines. And then there are several offices that have been created over the course of the last 8 years now that this administration has been in. The Office of New Americans is one that I have mentioned before that I would cut the spending to. The Office of Just Saving People Money, it's ridiculous. It just gives the lieutenant governor an additional salary. Then there's the office, I call it Just Get to Work. It doesn't make sense to me. We should be cutting the spending to it. But then I would also put in a true hiring freeze and look at, not like what Governor Polis did, where he said, yeah, we're going to pause hiring for 3 months, and all they did was hold up, and then after 3 months, opened up the floodgates and hired a bunch of people. So we'd put in a true hiring freeze, and then there would be other programs that we would look at. And my time is up, so I can't get into all of those.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Another question for you, Representative Bottoms. You claim there is a pedophile ring at the state capitol. You've talked a lot about this, but have not offered any evidence to date. The law is clear that as a pastor, you are a mandatory reporter and have an obligation to immediately notify local, not out-of-state, law enforcement if you know about something like a pedophile ring. If you will ignore this law, what other laws will you not follow?
So I've been a pastor for 35 years. That's a very inaccurate way to understand the mandatory reporting. You have to actually know a child that's in harm and their name, who they are that's in harm. Maybe not their name, but you have to know who this child is.
So if you know that it's happening, you don't have to report it if you don't know who it's happening to?
Yes, that's actually the law. The other side of that is I have evidence, and I have presented the evidence. I just haven't presented it to the media. I presented it to the FBI. You can call Tom Shea. He works with the FBI here in Colorado. But I also have 2 other groups that are now helping me. These are private groups. I've been trying to do this for 2.5 years to try to get these private groups. Nobody would help. Now I've got 2 different private groups that are helping me. And we've also had some other investigators that have volunteered to jump on board and help us with this. So I'm pretty excited where we are. We're going to be able to move this forward pretty quick. I don't know where the FBI is in the investigation. They don't tell me. And they kind of slow walk things, but they know we're using the other teams too. I've talked with them about that. So we're pretty excited. We think we're going to be coming out with some very strong things that I can actually tell the public. I will still tell the
June
FBI.
30th, you think?
Say that again?
Before June 30th, before the primary election?
I don't think so before then. I don't think so, but before the general election.
All right, Senator Kirkmeyer, this question is for you. You've been measured in your criticism of President Trump, who has split the Republican Party in Colorado. First, as the party standard bearer, how would you repair that rift if elected governor? And second, if you win the primary and he offers his endorsement, will you accept it and ask him to campaign for you?
Yes, absolutely. I would accept an endorsement from the President of the United States. I don't know why anybody would not do that, but I would absolutely accept an endorsement from the President of the United States. I think the way to repair it is we have got to start building bridges back. We've got to build a relationship with the federal government, with the president. It shouldn't matter who's in that office. We need to work with them and make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to bring resources to the state of Colorado. For me, it's always about putting Colorado first, and that's what I would do as governor. And again, I would work with not only our congressional folks, all of them, quite frankly, you know, whether they're Democrat or Republican, and work to build and develop a relationship and build that relationship back. I think this is absolutely obnoxious that we have an attorney general right now that thinks he should be doing a lawsuit at least once every week against the president.
What about the relationship? I was talking specifically about the relationship in the Republican Party here in Colorado. The party here in Colorado is split. So how do you bring that party back together?
You know, that's a tougher question, how we do that. And I think, again, it's back to, you know, in our campaigns, we're back listening to folks and demonstrating. And as a Republican, a very conservative Republican, you know, I have worked to ensure that I have kept my oath to protect and defend our Constitution, and I don't compromise on the Constitution at all. But I think we have to continue to open up lines of communications. When I campaign, I go out, and I did it this year again, went out and walked door to door to talk to people to try and get more people engaged in our party. I don't think trying to opt out of a primary, and that would essentially say that a bunch of Republicans wouldn't get to vote in the primary either. I don't think that's the way to go. I think it's truly more grassroots to go out, talk with individuals, get them to our party, listen to what their concerns are, and then start talking about how we find solutions together and open up those lines of communication. That's what has to happen. But in our party, man, we have got to stop calling each other names and stop attacking each other. We have to realize that there are things that we're not going to agree on, just like Representative Bottoms and I, but it doesn't mean that we can't respect each other and treat each other civilly.
Thank you. Representative Bottoms. Did you have an answer to that question? Did you want to add to that?
Yes, we're already seeing a little bit of potential rebuilding. I don't know how this is going to work out. We just hired, or voted in, same thing, a new GOP chair for the state. I know him some. I don't know him very well, but we'll see how this works. Hopefully he can bridge some division there. I do think one of the things is, just like Senator Kirkmeyer said, just stop attacking each other. Just because you don't agree on anything, on things, doesn't mean you have to go at each other. We have to bring civility back to our Republican Party.
Senator Kirkmeyer talked about this, but I'd like you to talk about it too. President Trump has been accused of political retaliation against Colorado for withholding disaster relief funding, moving Space Command, among other things. As a member of his party, the Republican Party, do you defend those decisions?
No, not all of them, but some of them that I do defend. He has withheld certain types of funding, and there's another one that's going to come up in August that potentially he's going to withhold funding, $37 million, but it's because of constitutional issues. I do think he goes after people. You don't want to be on his bad list. There's no doubt about that.
But do you support that?
No, I don't support that. I don't believe in personal vengeance or anything like that. I think that we can work together. I've said this before. I will endorse Senator Kirkmeyer if she gets the primary vote, because I'm not going to. We haven't always agreed, and we've gone at each other at different times. But I still respect her, and I think that that I can get behind her and work with her when I'm governor too. I mean, there's those kind of things where I don't hold grudges against people. I see President Trump do it. There's no doubt about that. But sometimes it's because of some federal issues, constitutional issues, that he withholds some funding. And I do stand behind some of those, yes.
Okay. Senator Kirkmeyer, did you have anything to add on that one? You've kind of addressed it.
I believe
Okay.
I addressed it.
So our next question is in regard to immigration. Would you support Colorado law enforcement cooperating fully with federal immigration authorities, even in cities that oppose it? Senator Kirkmeyer?
Yes, absolutely. You know, when it comes to law enforcement, there are memorandums of agreements through these mutual aid agreements. Law enforcement, whether it's at the municipal level, the county level, state level, or the federal level, are used to working together, and they need to work together to make sure that we get the bad guys, that we get them put into correctional facilities and have justice for victims, kind of thing. So, yes, absolutely, we've got to work together. We do have a conflict here in our state where we have not, but Democrats have passed bills that essentially have put our state laws in conflict with federal laws. Yeah. As governor, I will go and do whatever I can within the judicial system to resolve that and eliminate that conflict. It needs to go away. Law enforcement has to work together if we're going to maintain and provide for the safety of individuals in our state.
Thank you. Representative Bottoms.
Yeah, this is a big issue right now in our state. The first law that was passed was in 19. Then in 21, then in 23, another one. And these were all compounding more challenges. It makes it more difficult for ICE to actually work within our state. Now we have the mayor of Denver saying that police officers in Denver will actively stand against ICE agents. That's not constitutional. That needs to be done away with immediately. This idea of sanctuary states, sanctuary cities, that's not constitutional. I will immediately stop those unilaterally as the governor of this state, and we will make sure, Executive Order Day 1, that ICE not only has the ability to work with sheriff and police, but that's the mandate, that you will work with these agencies and all of you will work together. Right now, it's difficult. We have 5 deputy sheriffs in the state of Colorado. It's actually grown, but the original 5 deputy sheriffs that are being attacked by Attorney General Weiser, and all they did was contact ICE. That is not okay. That is against the law. It is against the Constitution, and we will not allow that when I'm governor.
Okay. Our time is running short, so for our final round of questions, if you could please keep it to 30 seconds or less. What do you think is the most important issue to voters other than the cost of living, and what's your top policy goal regarding that issue? Representative Bottoms.
I think the most important issue right now is how we're treating our children across the state. As I mentioned earlier, 85% of the state is not okay with boys and girls sports. We also see that over 60% of the state is not okay with transgender surgeries for minors. We also know, and I ran all 3 of these as bills, that the state is strongly in favor of putting pedophiles in jail for life, but the Democrats in the House and the Senate keep voting against those. That'll be one of my first agenda items, is put that back in right structure according to the Constitution, federal and state.
Thank you. Senator Kirkmeyer?
Affordability is the top issue here in the state, and then from there it's things like jobs and taxes and just everything that goes along with the affordability portion of that issue. But then after that, it's public safety, which I think also helps to encompass some of the things that Representative Bottoms brought up as well. He's correct. There has been, at the state capitol, there has been a war on parents, so to speak, basically where the government feels like they can do better at raising people's children than parents and grandparents can. So I think that's an issue. It's not something that has come to the top of the list when I'm out talking to people, but it is an issue in our state. But I think it's public safety, and I think that's all included together.
Okay. How would you work with a legislature that is fully controlled by Democrats? Senator Kirkmeyer?
So I've been able to, over the course of my last 6 years of being on the being a state senator, and then also the last 4 years being a member of the Joint Budget Committee, been able to work across the aisle for the betterment of the people of the state of Colorado. You know, most of the time down at the Capitol, I found, and again, never compromised my conservative values, never compromise on the Constitution. I'd never do that. But I've been able to work with them to get things like property taxes reduced and cut, to basically work to stabilize the healthcare safety net, to ensure that there's additional funding for those children with special needs that are in our education system. And the list goes on from there. So I've shown that and demonstrated that I can work with them, especially on those issues that are most important to the state of Colorado and Coloradans.
Thank you. Representative Bottoms.
Interestingly, right now at the state level, so we know voters across the state are pulling away from Democrat leadership. Well, there's also Democrat representatives, and I don't know about the Senate, I'm not in the Senate, but that have come to us and said, hey, we can't vote with you because we'll be destroyed by our own party. They will primary us. They will take funding away, all these kind of things. I think there are Democrats that are ready to vote with Republicans if we can do one thing, and that is get it closer. I think we're going to win about 10 seats in the House this year. You put me in the governor's office, and we have those extra 10 seats, and you're going to start seeing Democrats jump ship and come and vote with us.
So would you support raising the Tabor cap under any circumstances? And if so, what circumstances? Representative Bottoms?
The answer is no, under no circumstances. Tabor, 71% of all Tabor money, all tax money goes around Tabor already. We've got fees, fines, all kinds of things that are added, tolls on roads. All these things are extras that are added that go against Tabor. We develop special districts. We de-Bruce. None of that is constitutional. It's all illegal. I will stop that by going back to the Constitution, and I will defend Tabor at all costs. No caps. No raising of caps ever.
Senator Kirkmeyer?
Absolutely not. No way. It's an increase in taxes. Anytime you increase the cap, you're increasing everyone's taxes across the board. So absolutely not. Yep. And in fact, 2 years ago, I led, co-chaired the campaign on the No on HH campaign, and we won. The no, it was a no, and it was like 60%. So the people in the state are very clear. Tabor was put in place back in 1992 to make sure that we have that safety net, to make sure that government doesn't grow out of control, and thank goodness that it got voted in even back then in 1992.
Yeah.
All right. I know you've been asked this question, but do you believe Colorado's elections are secure, and will you accept the outcome of this election? Senator Kirkmeyer?
I think there are things that we can do within our election process, like cleaning up the voter rolls, making sure that individuals have to show not just a utility bill, but show an ID to register to vote. I think those are two steps that would help make our election process even more secure. And yes, I would, what was the last part?
Accept the results of the election.
Yes, I would accept the results of the election.
Okay. Representative Bottoms?
We have very broken, corrupt elections here in the state of Colorado, involving so many different arenas. There are some surprises that are coming down the chute just from our state level, with a guy named Dr. Frank that has got some plans of how to renegotiate how we look at voter rolls and things like that, and make sure that they're legal, they're constitutional. I will accept the election results if I believe that they are secure. As of right now, there's nothing that is showing me that they're secure and not corrupt, and so it's tenuous for me right now.
But you will accept the results of the election?
I'm not giving that as a guarantee, no.
Okay. And I think you both have addressed, you'll endorse each other, but you will not endorse the other candidate in this race.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
No. I have not said that I would endorse Representative Bottoms.
But and neither of you would endorse Victor Marx?
Neither of us, yes.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Well, it is time for closing remarks. Based on a coin toss, I believe, Senator Kirkmeyer, you're up first. Is that correct?
Great. Thank you. So, 8 years of one-party control. They've made a mess out of our state. As we all know, we're unaffordable, we're unsafe, we're unraveling, our roads are crumbling, our roads are a mess. It's been 8 years. When I've talked to folks throughout the state, regardless if I'm in Grand Junction or I'm in Holly or Holyoke or down in Pueblo or wherever I'm at, I know it. People are frustrated. We're all frustrated. Me too. So it's time to get our state back on track. I'm asking you tonight for your vote. Asking you to vote for me because I have a vision for this state and a plan to get us back on track. With your vote, your help, we can get us back on track. We can get to the point where I have done things like ensuring that we've lowered property taxes, that we've cut taxes, cut spending, cut regulations, led my county to zero debt. I am a proven conservative in this race. I'm qualified. I have governed at the local level as a county commissioner for 20 years. I've balanced budgets. I know how to get the job done. I've got a vision to make sure that we improve our state because we all deserve better. I'm Barb Kirkmeyer. I'm running for governor of the state of Colorado. I would appreciate your vote. Let's do this. Let's get our state back on track, and I can clean up this mess. Thank you.
Representative Bottoms.
Yes, thank you. This is what our republic is built upon, what we're doing right here, debating, talking, actually getting out in front of the people. I have been listening to the people around the state of Colorado. Everybody in the state knows there's fraud. Everybody knows there's corruption. Everybody knows that people are on the dole, they're taking monies, they're money laundering, all this kind of stuff. I'm the only candidate that is consistently promising you, I'm going to go after that stuff. I've got my policies. It's on the website. I've got plans for pretty much everything that you're thinking. But here's the thing. I will go after the pedophile rings. I will go after the corruption. I will go after the cronyism. And we're going to clean up this state. We have the money to do whatever we want if we just stop the corruption. And that goes from the inner city to the very edges of the rural areas. We are going to stop this. So help me. Vote for me in this primary. Help me reclaim Colorado for all Coloradoans. And we're going to do this together. And I'm listening to you. We're going to do this together to reclaim Colorado.
All right. Thank you both for joining us. And I hope this debate was informative for you, our viewers. Ballots hit the mail next week, and the primary is June 30th.